at the front end of things at face value, you have a successful business. Things look good on paper. You are making the money. How dare you go out there and say you need help? You ever looked at your business on paper and think, everything looks successful, so why does it still feel so heavy? That's exactly what today's conversation is about. I'm sitting down with my quote-unquote airport friend, Mindi Huebner, a woman I met in the most accidental way possible and instantly knew we were speaking the same language. Mindi works at the identity level with high-achieving women, helping them break out of the survival mode that keeps them overworking, over-responsible, and quietly exhausted, even when the business is doing well. We are talking subconscious identity, the hidden patterns that keep smart, capable women stuck on the hustle, and why mindset alone isn't enough. And if you ever told yourself rest is lazy, control equals safety, or I should be able to handle this on my own, this episode is going to hit. This is not a conversation about doing more. It's a conversation about becoming the version of you that your next level actually needs. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, and today I have a very special guest that I call my airport friend. And I'll tell you the backstory of that. We were at a retreat together last year. We spent a few days with a bunch of people, and we didn't really talk to each other at all. We were busy talking to other people. And then at the end of it, on the way back to the airport, we rode together in a little van, and we spent some time in the airport, and it was a great time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to be friends for the rest of our lives now. So Mindi Huebner is my airport friend, and I'm so excited to have her here because she is super smart, and we have a lot of things in common that we try to help people with. So I can't wait to have this conversation. Welcome, Mindi.
Thank you so much, airport friend, for having me here. We had such a grand time at the table. I do remember it. We laughed a lot too.
It was fun. It was fun. It's one of those like short time, but very meaningful.
Agreed.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit of your story of, a lot of us on the podcast started somewhere else working for somebody and didn't really plan on being, a business owner and an entrepreneur, hence the accidental CEO name of this whole thing. Do you have a story like that, or you started things like being a business owner already from the get-go?
Yeah, so yes and no. I think accidental CEO, like Chief Executive Officer, probably an accident. Being an entrepreneur, not as much. I have taught, coached, mentored my entire adult life. I spent almost 20 years in sales. I have worked in corporate when I was much younger. And in my sales career, again, I was training nationally for my company, leading all kinds of things. And my division closed. And so I was met with this, what are you going to do now? And I had an opportunity to reinvent myself, which allowed me to take a much different path away from burnout, away from chronic exhaustion, those types of things, which I had thought, and I know we're going to get into that because of just who we are as especially female entrepreneurs, right? Like we have these subconscious identities and beliefs, and I believed that rest was lazy. And so therefore I was the hustler. And I hustled 24/7, and you can sleep when you're dead and just drink some more coffee and all of those things. And no shade if that's where you're at and you're hearing that. This is an opportunity to take a pause and just raise the awareness on what is causing that identity to be the one, that survival identity to run the show.
Yeah, it's like we were twins, I'm telling you. All those phrases, I said it out loud, man. I was that person. And I think it gives us a lot of context and structure and empathy to coach other people now and to help other people because we've been you. Like we were you. I was just fine with like working a ridiculous amount of hours and having zero, time left for anything. And because I do have the mental capacity to do it. And I wasn't even feeling the quote unquote burnout and like being exhausted and all that. But just because you can't doesn't mean you should, doesn't mean that's the way to do it. And I do believe that there is a time and place for a little bit of hustle in your business, especially in the beginning. And I feel like that's completely fine. It's just not something that you should be keeping forever. Is not sustainable, right?
It's not sustainable. That's what I was going to say. It's not sustainable. I absolutely believe in aligned hustle. I believe in sprints. Like these things are necessary. And if you've ever trained for anything physically, right? Like there are times when you do this like dig in and head down and everything else waits. And then there's maintenance phase where you're living life in this, new way that now is no longer new, right? Because this is who you are. And this is how you, what I call cast votes, right? This is how you show up daily in your life. And so, yes, there are opportunities, like both are true, just like you are enough and you get to evolve.
I tell people that the next phase of your business needs a new version of you. Like we need to understand the identity shift that needs to happen and getting out of that operator seat and into this true CEO position where your job is to ideate and create the vision and create the path for things to be done. And you should not be the one doing everything anymore. So how do we get out of that pattern? Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know you help people with that too.
I do. Well, I think first is recognizing so in my experience, there are like 4 common survival identities that I see in CEOs. Like this is the one that comes to the forefront. And I'm going to guess you see the same ones, even if we call them something different. So I see the over-responsible architect. Like she believes control is safety. Right? So even when support is available, she hesitates because receiving support requires trust and it requires letting go of some of the control. And these versions of ourselves, right? We're the builder and the one who holds everything together. And we anticipate the needs and we're the first to do all the things. Like we pride ourselves on our reliability. And it's just easier to do it ourselves. So I see that one. You're like nodding. Yep, I see that one. I also see the strategic achiever, this part like loves a checklist and precision and progress. And this subconscious belief is that performance equals worthiness. I can fully identify with this. This was that hustle mentality. Like the more I do, the more I achieve, the more I am, the better I am, was a filter that was happening that I didn't even realize. This identity, she doesn't celebrate. She calibrates and she moves the goalpost every time. Like you said, you had the mental capacity. She just keeps moving the goalpost. It keeps moving the goalpost. Ultimately, right? Like she is brilliant. She is capable. She is praised for her consistency. Like, dang, you're so resilient. You're so this, you're so that. And that is just not sustainable, right? It's just not a thing that we want to live in forever. And eventually our body will like tell us. And then I see the what I call the overextended CEO, being needed equals being valuable. So here we are at one of those subconscious things that again, delegation. So having someone else like feels indulgent even, right? You've created this success. Like maybe you prayed for it, you worked for it, you should be able to sustain it. And so you should still do all the things. And this is where embodiment over scorecards, like this is where it matters. Embodying that next level version of you, like freedom becomes the metric on the other side, not all the tasks or the numbers, those kinds of things. Because like you said, the visionary, right? Like that's who you get to ideate. And then finally, I see the high performing chameleon, and this identity is adaptable and quick and brilliant at reading a room. She knows exactly what to say. The problem comes in is that her subconscious wiring is belonging is required, like blending in. Like in order to belong, I need to blend in. And the problem with that is like she dulls her own intuition, her own knowing. She like edits her edges. She's not standing out, right? Like dialing down her magic to make others feel comfortable. And each of these identities shows up as a protection, as you know, right? And so the first thing is who's driving? Like, who am I recognizing in order to then get up underneath the root of how do I get to change this?
Yeah, I love that. I love these four very distinct kind of identities. And just so you guys know, right before we started recording, we were talking about how we every once in a while still fall back into some of those, even though we know everything that we know and we've been there and we got out of there. Every once in a while, it pulls us back. We're like, oh, I get to say yes to all these things. And I'm like, oh, just overcommitted and I'm drowning now. But I think the difference is to be able to understand now, recognize the pattern, and then ask for help. Because it's so hard for when you are inside of those four categories to ask for help. Because at the front end of things, at face value, you have a successful business. Things look good on paper. You are making the money. How dare you go out there and say you need help? Right? So there's a shame, a self-inflicted shame and like barrier to asking for help, which is, I think, that keeps you into that kind of situation. Is that what you see as well?
I agree. My hope is that everyone hears you are worthy of support. There's no question about this in whatever area that looks like, because I know as CEOs as well, we can delegate in our personal lives that then allow us to have more capacity as well, right? Especially when we're starting our businesses and or in the middle, like in a middle section where I need more time, so I'm going to outsource laundry or cleaning or, like those types of things so that we do have more capacity, more focus. And so whatever the support is, you're worthy of it, right? Whichever form you decide to take first, I want the audience to hear, you're amazing people to hear. And then you get to like turn up the volume and turn up the volume and turn up the volume to increase your capacity to believe and feel good in the support and the safety. And then pretty soon you are doing what you said. You're the top, right? And you're ideating and you're visioning and then you're handing off the doing.
Yes. Remember, rest does not have to be earned. It should be part of your business strategy.
I 100% agree. I believe that rest, and I've experienced this in my own life, rest breeds productivity. It breeds creativity. I'm an avid rester now because I spent so much time believing that rest was a bad thing. Even when I earned it, it wasn't rest because I felt guilty about it. And that is just like, I think that was one of the pieces that really pushed me even more to be a champion, especially for women in business. We have so much conditioning put on us. And then the world says this and the world says that, and we should show up this way and we should show up that way. And then not only did I believe rest was lazy, I married someone who believes rest was lazy. So it was like, we're just this power couple making things happen, right? And not being able to see the forest for the trees, to be really cliche. And so recognizing, I love to call that out, like the first step is awareness. And the second step is then ownership. Oh, this is who I'm being, right? I'm believing that control equals safety, right? Recognizing, taking ownership of it, and then moving into alignment. Well, what would allow me to, right, like release a little bit of this, shift this belief, cast a vote towards a different reality? Like those kinds of questions then get to come in.
You talked a lot about that subconscious identity. Can you explain a little bit for everybody listening in simple terms what it means and how it impacts that high achieving woman and her results?
Absolutely. So something that I'm going to preface that with, a lot of people like to interchange mindset and identity. So this is a really easy way to think about it, right? Mindset is what you think. Identity is who does the thinking. And so mindset can be like lipstick on a pig, right? You could say affirmations and do these things all day long, but if at your identity, right, you don't believe those things, 95% of what you do is run by your subconscious. you're going to like stop doing those things. This is a great visual for people too. So you think a thought over and over again, habitually, it becomes a belief, becomes an I am statement. We know like the words we say after I am, some of the most powerful words in the universe. Then it moves into body sensations and emotions. And then we create habits to prove it to ourselves because we're always winning the game we're playing. Always. And so we're so powerful. Hear this part, everyone. You're so powerful that you're creating habits to prove your thoughts and beliefs to yourself all the time. Here's what your subconscious doesn't care about, whether that empowers you or disempowers you. So it could be proving you right in an area that you never want to be right in. I'm a hot mess. I have zero time management skills, right? I'll never get anything done. Yep. You win, you win, you win. Think ant and elephant, right? The elephant is the 95%. This is your subconscious. The ant is the 5%. This is your conscious brain. This is you setting a goal out loud, logically, right? Or saying, here's what I want. And when your conscious and your subconscious are not aligned, when they're not in alignment with each other, then you're like an ant trying to drive an elephant, which, by the way, is a book that I didn't write about the conscious and the subconscious. It is a great analogy, though, so I like to use it.
It is a great analogy. I remember in my previous life saying, just like everybody else around me, oh, I'm terrible with names. I can never remember people's names, right? And when I switched from that job to my first entrepreneur job, which was photography, I decided I was going to make a point to be really good and learn people's names. And then out of the sudden, guess who knows everybody's names when the huge family comes for a photo shoot or remembers, all the bridesmaids' names. And it's amazing. It's amazing how much, like you said, we can create habits to support whatever story we're telling ourselves. So start paying attention.
Our self-talk is critical. It's crucial because we're always listening to ourselves, right? And it's creating sensations and emotions, and our subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings. And so how does that feeling that we create, I'm terrible with names, right? That feeling that we create, it's predictable, it's familiar, and it's known. So your subconscious is going to go, oh, that thing. We're going to do that thing because we know how to be this version of ourselves.
The stories we tell ourselves, man, it's amazing. I tell my kids now, it happened actually last night. My older daughter we were all laying in my bed and talking, and she was talking about her hair and like, I don't know what to do with my hair tomorrow. And I was like, just let it be. Like, just leave it down. It's fine. She's like, no, it's not. I was like, it's good. And she's like, no, it's not good enough. And I said, don't say that about my daughter. I told her, I was like, don't you ever speak like that about my daughter. And she looked at me and started laughing. I was like, you have to be very kind to yourself. Don't expect other people to. You have to set the example of how you speak about yourself. But I was like, don't say that about my daughter. And I tell my friends that whenever I hear somebody saying something like that about themselves, I'm like, don't say that about my friends. Don't say that about my friends.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. What you were saying about you decided when you became a photographer, you decided you were going to be the woman who, I love to say this phrase, the woman who, and these are my words, but you decided you were going to be the woman who remembered everyone's names, right? Like no matter how many people were in the group. For some people, going from I am terrible with names to I'm the woman who remembers everyone's names, flipping that switch, that's sticky and difficult. And that's not just I'm telling myself it's difficult. No, it actually is difficult for some people, probably more people than not. And so what I love to do in that case is what I call stair-step affirmations, and show if we're going from I'm terrible with names, then the next step could maybe be I'm learning to be better with names. And then the next step could be I'm a woman who's getting better with names. And then the next step could be remembering names comes easier and easier. And we can stair step to I'm the woman who remembers everybody's name, because we're creating, again, that subconscious safety that we get to shift the space that is predictable and known and familiar a little bit at a time. And so as we raise the predictability for this new way of being, we lower the fear and the cost that we think coming away from predictability, like raising the predictability, will give us. So we do this, and really it turns into expansion, right? We lower the resistance when we make those micro shifts and we raise the predictability.
That's awesome. I love the stepping, taking those stepping stones into that instead of a big leap, because that leap can be scary and difficult, like you said. And we're not only talking about actually saying these things out loud. Like, pay attention to what you say inside of your head too, because you can be saying that stuff out loud to be positive in practice and then be negative and, having negative self-talk inside of your head. So pay attention to all the talks inside and out.
Yes. And there we are back at that awareness, right? Yeah, which is vital.
This episode is brought to you by my one-on-one Freedom First Leadership Coaching. This is for founders who are still the glue in their company and want to become the calm, precise CEO. Together, we will redesign your role, install clean decision rights, and delegate outcomes with a clear definition of done. You'll leave with a weekly operating cadence, a 90-day plan, and the confidence to scale without being on call to everything. If you want high standards at a human pace, apply now at accidentalceo.co/coaching. That's accidentalceo.co/coaching. A lot of people can write a goal on the paper, but we know, honestly, at the end of the day, very few people actually achieve it. So talk to us about the main difference between conscious goal setting and subconscious alignment.
Yeah. So here we are back at, right, that alignment, like getting those two things. So we can set a SMART goal. And what SMART goals are missing is your subconscious that is running 95%. So since our subconscious takes in pictures and sounds and feelings, one of my favorite ways to get into alignment is to use these 7 keys. So 1, know what you want, right? And that seems like a no-brainer, but know what you want so clearly that you can do what I call my immersion method. You dive into a swimming pool of it. What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Right? What am I going to hear? What am I going to say? What am I going to see? All the things like that. So that casting votes, so that making the choice towards this outcome, which, plot twist, ultimately it's you next leveling yourself, right? It's a new identity. You're actually shedding conditioning to become more of yourself. So that the casting votes towards that comes more often than not. So it's so compelling, this knowing what you want. And then the second step is taking action, aligned action. So sometimes that's physical, sometimes that's mental. Oh, I'm shit talking myself again. I get to be aware of that. I'm shifting that. I'm no longer that version of myself, right? So know what you want, take action, and then check the data. So I know what I want. I want to make $50,000 a month in, reoccurring revenue. I'm taking action. The action is going to tell me, the data is going to tell me 3 things. It's going to tell me my actions are hitting it, because here comes the money. It's going to tell me, oh, some of my actions are working. Some of them can use some tweaking, because some of it's coming and some of it's not. Or the third thing the data is going to tell me is it's time for a new plan. And either the plan is, oh, is this what I actually want? Or is the plan, oh, I get to take some different action towards this thing. So those pieces right there. And then we bring into this showing up as our best self, what I call excellence, excellence, joy and ease. We get to be willing to change when we're not having the experience that we want. We get to show up in gratitude, which scientific research shows changes the structure of your brain, how you see things. And this is not being grateful for horrific circumstances. That's not what we're talking about, right? These are those tiny, here we are with a micro shift. I'm so grateful that I have a cup of coffee on my desk right now, right? Literally starting in small places like that. I'm so grateful that I've decided that I'm worthy of support. Those very simple gratitude practices. And finally, we have alignment. And so what happens when we set a goal that's at if we think of a scale of 1 to 10, and if it's 1 to 5, we're not going to that's easy, right? Like we're not going to experience any resistance. 6, 7, and 8, when we're oh, that's a little, I'm experiencing some resistance. Usually, if you've figured out what you want and it really is what you want, like you've gotten clear on that, when you get to hear 6, 7, or 8 and you're experiencing resistance, that means you're on the verge of a breakthrough. Oh, you're increasing your familiarity and your predictability, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm casting votes towards this. That means that breakthrough is coming. That next level is coming. You're stretching your known zone. When we're at a 9 or a 10, that's when we're like, oh, we're out of alignment. Like this is my survival brain is kicking in. My prefrontal cortex is shut down. I cannot make clear decisions, right? CEO decisions. And so we get to go, okay, well, what happened? We go back to, what do you want? Was this really my goal, $50,000 months? Or was this something I saw online? And this was like, I thought that having this would give me this. So we just get to go back and ask ourselves better questions, because the quality of the questions determines the quality of our lives.
I love that. Asking better questions. Yes, absolutely. I want to talk about your 24-karat identity concept. I know that's the core of your coaching, and talk to us about how did you develop this framework and what it makes it so different from the traditional mindset work that's out there.
Again, your identity, your repeated way of beingness. And if our subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings, we want to know that, let's just go back to $50,000 recurring revenue months, right? And I love how neutral my body feels when I just said that. Like my body didn't go, there's no way you could do that. And my body didn't get super excited about it yet, but it went, that's an interesting thought. Let's go deeper on that, right? It was just extremely neutral, like, well, anything's possible. So that's step 1, right? Is seeing what it feels like. So when we have this, in order to create that subconscious safety, what I call flex your subconscious identity muscle so that it gets bigger, right? You expand more. You get to know, again, what does it look like, sound like, taste like, feel like, internally and externally? What am I smelling? Like all the things when I am having, when I am showing up as the 24-karat version of me, how will I know? What's the proof? And so if my goal is $50,000 recurring revenue months, well, today I'm not doing that yet. So how can I be her today, right now? Because this is the identity gap, right? The identity that I want to be as her and who I'm being right now, there is a gap there. When I get real clear on what's her morning routine? What kind of books is she reading? How is she talking to herself? Does she drink 8-ounce glasses of water a day? How often is she picking up social media? Notice that I can cast votes towards that version of me right now. And so I can I can be her in as much as is possible for me right now today as I'm on the road to the 50K. I can do the things that she would do. I could cast all the votes that are based around all the ways that she would be feeling, all the things that she would be experiencing. And then I can have what she would have. In essence, what I'm doing is shortening the identity gap so that getting to that version of me, I'm shedding conditioning. I'm getting more clear, more authentic, more powerful to call in the next thing that will allow those 50K months.
Yeah, I love that. Shedding the stuff you don't need.
Yeah, exactly. The things that other people have put on us, the things that society tells us, the things that we decided in a split second and never went back and shifted the meaning of that either.
I like that you actually call out that your goal should be also free of that. It shouldn't be because that's what you heard on the Accidental CEO podcast, because Mindi was talking about 50K months. What is it that actually means something to you? Because if there is no connection there, there's going to be a lot of there's lack of clarity on the path, and it will be hard to get there, And
we'll start telling ourselves stories about how difficult it is to get, when we choose an outcome that is someone else's outcome and we don't allow ourselves to go what I like to call 7 whys deep, right? On that know what you want. Like, why do I want this? Well, $50,000 recurring revenue months would be amazing. Like, think of all the, things I could do and the charities I could support and the blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, why is having that important? Well, because then I could, okay, well, what will having that do for me? Why does that matter? When we get to 7 ways deep, we get to the real crux, because ultimately we get to say, okay, well, am I willing to do the work to have $50,000 reoccurring revenue months? Like, there is going to be work in that. There's just no way around that. Now, whether that's visionary work that gets handed off or whatever, right? Like, there is work there, and it gets to be the good work, right? Like, that's why we're in business, right? It still is work, even if we love it. And that's okay, right? Not struggle. Like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the things that what do we do? So knowing that it will require a level of uncomfortability and effort in order to go to a next level, we get to get real clear on, is this level, have I chosen it because this is truly my next level, or have I decided this based on what's happening around me? And I have an amazing story about a client who really wanted to hit $1 million in revenue in 1 year. And her business is thriving. She runs a highly successful, highly profitable, lean business. And she talked herself out of that goal because conditioning told her that in order to do that, she would have to look like the other 7-figure entrepreneurs that she knew, and their core values did not match hers. She did not want to give up her authenticity. She did not want to give up her 20 to 22 hour work weeks. She did not want to give up her core values and her boundaries, what was absolutely important to her. So she talked herself out of this goal because in her mind, the only way to get there was to be them. And so, of course, it was like, absolutely not. We had one 15-minute session together where we disconnected that belief. Within 3 months, she hit $1 million in her business. In 2025, her revenue grew by 85%, and her profit margin was 52%. Because she was clear. The essentiality of clarity, so that you know what the next steps are, so you can be strategic, so you can hand it off, right? When identity and mindset issues pop up, you know the support to turn to, so that, like, she shouts from the rooftops, she would not be a 7-figure business owner if she didn't work with me, if she did not do the work that she does on her identity and on her mindset.
And that's so true. I remember, a few years ago, setting goals and look at these people online and you're like, that's just not me. Like, I don't want to be that. Like, can I get to that without looking like that, without talking like that, without, sharing the same quote unquote values? And yes, we absolutely get blocked by our, subconscious without even knowing. And you have the ability and the skills to achieve that goal. And there's something that is always in the way, and you're always self-sabotaging and you don't know why. Mindy just told you that is what's happening.
Yeah, you've decided, your subconscious has decided there's more loss than gain. You will have to give up more than you will get from that, and you're not willing to do it. Plus, it's unfamiliar, it's unknown, it's unpredictable. And we are in the habit of being us. We want to stay in that predictable known, even when it's uncomfortable, because, they call it the comfort zone, which I call BS on. It's the known zone. It's the predictable zone. We know how to BS. It doesn't mean it's comfortable. We complain about how we keep showing up the same way. Exactly. We complain about it. And yet some of us don't take the action to get out of that familiarity zone because it seems impossible, right? It seems too hard. It seems like how is that going to happen? And when that question comes up, I love to ask who before how, right? Like, who do I get to be Who do I get to surround myself with? And then once I am clear on those two things, the how, like that falls into place when you're clear on the who you get to be and who can support you in that.
You heard it here first. We are recoin. The sentence is not your comfort zone anymore, is your familiar zone. And we've decided that. So you guys start talking differently from now on because it is so true.
Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it serves you.
So you work with a lot of ambitious women like I do. And what is the one common like subconscious identity pattern that you see on those women very often that keeps them playing small?
I would say it goes back to worthiness. Like, am I enough? Right? Am I enough? And conditioning from day one, and depending on your beliefs from generations and lifetimes, this comes in. And so ultimately, I work on this enoughness with all of my clients in some way, shape, or form. One of the main differences between you and I, right, is you also do business strategy. So I am strictly identity and I work with women in business and I work with the human. So sometimes we're working on health goals. Lots of my clients, we have 24-karat identities for how they're taking care of their bodies physically. Sometimes we're working on relationship goals. Sometimes we're working on a hobby thing, like I want to be the person who does this, but I'm making it mean this, right? I want more creativity time. Like recently I was talking to a client about what it means to have space to be creative. Well, she had made it mean all these things. I don't have time for that. Like this, that, and that, right? Like, so I work with the human on all of those things. And the root underneath almost everyone is worthiness. Like, do I deserve this? Right?
Yeah, it's so amazing how many people don't even realize. And it doesn't mean just the people who maybe grew up struggling or, and have, these mindsets around money that are self-limiting. Sometimes I work with people who had a lot, who came from having a lot of resources, and there's still something on the back of their mind, on their subconscious, that keeps them from seeing how worthy they are. And I think a lot of us tend to connect our self-worth with our work, right? With our service or our product and our offer. And boy, that is such a big mistake, right? So there's like, charge what you're worth. Absolutely not. You cannot do that because you are not worth a number. There is no number that can pay what you're worth, right? So learning how to disconnect your self-worth from the work that you do, I think, when it comes to money and pricing and stuff like that, I mean, it's a huge initial step for people, and then understanding that that has nothing to do with your self-worth and where you could be and who you could be and where you could go. So huge disconnect there. So for people who are listening to us and you're like, okay, I get it, I buy into this, I'm with you guys, where do I start? What is a practical first step that maybe they can take today to begin aligning that subconscious with their conscious goals and can start to move forward in the right direction?
I think that's twofold. I know that's twofold. So the first question is, who am I being? It's raising the awareness. Like, who am I being right now? And who do I want to be? And so this is like a self-check-in audit of noticing yourself showing up in a habit. If you're automatically picking up your phone, I should say, without thinking, to absentmindedly picking up your phone, and you see you all of a sudden you have this moment of, I see my phone in my hand. Who am I being? Who do I want to be? No shame, no guilt, no shoulds, like none of that, just awareness. Who am I being? Who do I want to be? Now, the deeper question comes in, who do I want to be? Knowing who you want to be, being clear on, and it doesn't have to be 50K months or anything like that, where the clarity and the tighter things come in is, I want to be a woman who's saying no to anything that's keeping me from achieving my dreams. Okay, so that's pretty broad, right? However, I can know that mindless scrolling, hands down, will keep me from achieving my dreams. So I already know that if I'm doing that, I'm not actually being who I want to be. There's no shame in it. It's like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to scroll for 2 more minutes and then I'm going to put it down. Like, this is not about you're a bad person or any of those things. Like, you're a human. Welcome. Just like you said in the beginning, you and I still will overcommit or, have a moment of dialing down our magic to make someone else comfortable and like whatever that looks like, right? We'll still have those moments and then go, wait a minute, I know better. So that question, who am I being? Who do I want to be? And then having a sense, and I would love it to be a crystal clear, a 24 karat sense of what it feels like to be that 24 karat you, what that feels like, because the feeling is what's going to create and allow you to have safety in that feeling. And here we're going to get really meta for a second. So you said something simple and now I'm going to get more complex and meta. I'm going to invite you to have yourself remember what it feels like to be that version of you. Not imagine it, remember it. And just tell yourself, we're remembering this instead of we're imagining it. And there is just this minor thing that happens there as well. Like, remember what it felt like when XYZ, and then you feel it, right? Like,
remember when you used to be all of that that you want.
Yeah. Remember when you did XYZ. Remember when you felt XYZ. And it's pictures, sounds, feelings. Pictures, sounds, feelings. Like, so see it, right? Hear it, feel it. That is going to help you close that gap between conscious and subconscious too. That's going to give you much more alignment in those pieces.
Love this conversation. All right. It's time for your random card of the day. So we started
I feel like we're like spinning a wheel.
We started this tradition of me asking a random question from a deck of cards that I got to my guests. So here's your question, Mindy. What's something you think people tend to assume about you when they meet you for the first time? What do they assume about you?
Well, what's really funny about this is a really simple one, is they assume I'm going to be taller than I am.
Opposite of me.
Exactly. That is people hands down assume I'm going to be taller than I am. And
why do you think that is?
They always go, well, you just have a really big presence. Like, I don't I just thought I thought you would be taller is almost always what people say to me. I think that I love this question. I'm gonna even spin it and do a little bit more too. The other thing that people will assume about me is that when I'm quiet, it means that I'm a bitch. I've had this my whole life. I'm being totally I'm being totally honest. And what it really is I'm taking it in, right? I read energy. I read all of this. I'm filtering it all in, and I want to give you the space to be you so that I can then, meet you where you're at, kind of thing. So sometimes I'm quiet, and then there'll be other times you couldn't get me to shut up this whole time, right? Because I have a lot to say.
So much good stuff. It's funny because when we met and we're riding on the bus, it was actually I looked back at you a few times during conversations and we made eye contact. We're not talking. And I was like, I get it. We get it. We get each other.
Exactly.
We can understand each other. I'm like, we don't even need to talk. So I definitely did not think that of you at all when you were quiet. I could tell you were reading the room and it was just funny. Like, we don't even need to talk.
Yeah. Taking it in kind of thing. Being discerning. I feel like that is a place where I'm discerning is I'll take things in. So some people will think wow, what's that quiet all about? And then you get to know me again and I don't shut up.
She's amazing. If people want to work with you, where should they go? And just tell us a little bit more about how can they take advantage of this amazing mind of yours?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you could come to my website, mindihuebner.com. I would love for you to take the quiz. to see which CEO survival identity is actually running beneath the surface, because that is just a really fun way to have that awareness. And then plus it comes with I love to meditate and create like brain rewiring, hypnosis, all that kind of stuff. And so there's also a fun little meditation that comes with your result, very personalized for you. And so come to the website, take the quiz, that's a perfect way to come into my world and have more of this experience of you deserve a champion, rewiring your brain, is absolutely possible. I'm obsessed with it and it gets to happen super quickly. You start making micro shifts, within the 48 hours of working with me, you're already going to feel calmer and make cleaner decisions. This is the experience that my clients have right away.
I love that. We're going to have the link to the quiz in the show notes for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me and having this amazing conversation. It was so much fun. And I knew we were going to have a great way to help people see things in a different way and then hopefully motivate you guys to take the next step to keep things aligned and moving forward in your life and your business. So thank you, Mindi. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nada Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.